So I got Patrick. Hey, Jeffrey. Not sure.
Hey, Jeffrey.
I
Hi,
thought
everyone.
I thought I seen a communication that Michelle. I might be wrong. I thought Michelle had sent the communication out that she was looking for someone to sit in for her. So I wasn't sure if Patrick was on here or Steve was sitting in for her, but we'll see.
I mean, I'll stay if you don't have enough. That's fine.
Right. You just won't. Yeah. Hey, Doug.
Hi, Tony. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Doug.
Hi, Donna. She's driving. Couldn't hear her. Patch is still trying to. Hey, Drew. So I'm just seeing for a few more. Still looking for. I got Doug. I got Jeffrey, and a few more minutes. We don't have Randy and Michelle, and I'm actually sitting there, Steve. So I can get this moving. Elisa's here. Hi, Elisa.
Hello, Tony. You're all set whenever you want to start.
Yep, I'm just looking to see if Rennie or Michelle is attending today. And can you just remind me, Elisa, is Donna for the climate? Not climate.
I have no idea. I did not send a link out to
All right.
anyone that I was not given permission to do that with.
Okay. So. And I gotta remind myself to do that. Hey, Patrick. Can't hear you. You're muted. Patrick, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Tony. Thank you.
Already. I'm just wondering, Patrick, are you sitting in it for anyone today?
I'm sitting in for Michelle.
All righty. Thank you. So we do got Patrick in for Michelle. All right, Steve, because I and Elisa, I'm not sure. I haven't heard from Randy that he was not going to be here, but he's not here yet. So, Steve, you could sit in for him. I mean, we have a quorum. If you just want to sit in for him, and then if he does show up, then we can excuse you.
Yeah, no problem.
All righty. So then I'm ready, Lisa.
Sorry, Tony, repeat that, please.
I'm all set if you're ready.
Yep, you're on live stream. You're ready to go.
All right, okay. Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our Public Safety General Government meeting. Today is June the 23rd, 2021. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few guidelines to help us navigate this system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. Hopefully soon we'll get back into the chambers, but we ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off camera for the length of the meeting. The moderator for tonight is City Clerk Elisa Tinti, and she reserves the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council members and city staff will control their own mute button. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a council member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hand. I will call on members by stating their name clearly for audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcripts will be made available to the public on the city's website. Although we will not have public speaking tonight, you can sign up to speak at our monthly council meetings. Please email Elisa Tinty to sign up by noon the day of the meeting, or you can submit written comments for the record by the same deadline. The email address is emtinty@kingston-ny.gov. That's emtinti@kingston-ny.gov. You can also drop comments off at the drop box located outside the side door of City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to committee chairs or your ward's representative at any time. Clerk Elisa Tinty is a moderator for today's meeting. She has a right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance Chair, myself, Alderman Tony Davis, and we have Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Doug Coop, and sitting in today at our meeting is Patrick O'Reilly and Steve Shabbat. Thank you. And non-voting council members, I don't see anyone else here. City staff, we have City Clerk Elisa Tinty, and we have John Schulteis, City Engineer, and we have Dan Gardstein, Corp Counsel. And we do have a few guests that are going to be here and to take some questions. It looks like Drew Andrews from CCE, Energy Square, and Chuck Snyder, Representative Rupco. And thank you for your patience during these difficult times. And on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. I now call this meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Hello, everyone. So we're going to just go right through and the agenda that's here. There's not that many things on there, but the first item on for new business is a loading zone on Wall Street. And I don't see Mayor Noble here. I'm not sure if anybody's here to speak on this behalf of this. And if not, I will read what is stated. And staff from so I don't see anyone there to speak. So staff from the ARC Mid-Hudson reaching out to our office to request a loading zone on Wall Street in front of their facility. In the past, the ARC was able to access the rear of the facilities through the parking lot of 311 Wall Street. Prior to COVID, a fence was installed by the owner of 311 Wall Street, and since then, the ARC has not been allowed access to the rear door for loading and unloading their special needs clients. The ARC would very much like to continue to operate out of the building they own, but are now forced to load and unload their clients on Wall Street. A loading zone on the left side of the meter number 342 will assist, but unfortunately cannot guarantee that the loading zone won't be used by others loading, unloading in the area, which will unfortunately create many issues for the ARC clients. So I'm not sure about this communication, but it appears that they're looking to have a loading zone at 342 or at 311 Wall Street, left side of meter 342. John, can you speak any more in regard to this? John Schulteis, our city engineer.
Good evening, Tony. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. I'm not sure why my camera's not working, but if you can hear me, that's good enough. Good evening. Unfortunately, I'm trying to understand the communication as well, and I should have followed up earlier today with the mayor to understand it a little better, but I did not. So if another member of the council has the details of exactly where this is being requested, I'd try to comment on it now.
Yes, and again, and I apologize too. I just read this communication. I did read it earlier today, but I did not get a chance to reach out to the mayor on this. I was hoping that he was going to be here to clarify anything, or some representative from ARC Mid-Hudson. And so I have no additional information on this neither. So I'm a little confused about exactly where they want the request in his loading zone. Alderman Doug Coop.
Yeah, this is obviously says Ward 2, and I know absolutely nothing about it. This is the first I've heard about it. I don't see how we can vote on this. I think we ought to table it. unless someone can speak forcefully for it, I see how, none of us know anything about this. So I don't see how we can go forward with it. Thank you.
Anyone, Corp Counsel, Dan Garstein, you have any information on this?
Yeah, the request is for the loading zone immediately in front of the ARC offices. As Steve indicated, they previously were loading their handicapped individuals into the building from the back entrance. Their access to the back entrance, unfortunately, was terminated by a neighbor who put up a fence. And this is, being requested right in front of the building to facilitate their operations. I spoke to Steve about it this morning, and we discussed making it a handicapped accessible loading zone to address the possibility that other individuals would improperly take up the spot and prevent them from loading individuals in and out of the facility.
All right, thank you. So the request here then is to have a handicap access loading zone in front of 311 Wall Street.
Dan, can you describe the location?
What do you mean describe the location? What about the location do you want me to describe? It's on Wall Street. It's, a facility that has been operating on Wall Street for, quite a long time. And their operations serving, disabled individuals was interrupted, or the manner in which, they accessed the building was interrupted, and they need a way to get wheelchair bound and other handicapped individuals in and out of their facility on Wall Street.
Thanks for that description.
Any other questions? So I think, and Steve Shabbat, Alderman Steve Shabbat, we do have Rennie, Steve, we do
Yes, sir.
have Rennie. We do have Rennie and Scott Childress here. That's a committee member, but you're still more than welcome to ask questions, Steve.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. Do we have times, since we don't have too much information, I guess, Dan hopefully can answer these things. Is there times, days, specific information about the loading zone? How big is it just going to be one loading zone, or is it, I'm not quite sure, how many vehicles pull up, or are there multiple vehicles? I really don't know too much about this. So, if we can kind of
It's a
narrow
bus.
it down
It's
to what times we're looking at, the size of the spot, things like that.
It's actually one bus that pulls up and unloads, individuals who are accessing services in the building. And again, they used to access it from the back, and that access was terminated by a neighbor who put up a fence. I believe Steve's communication indicates one spot, but you have the communication there. I don't have any information about hours. I would assume it's, business hours, but I don't have that information.
Okay. I don't know. We really don't have a lot of information to go on here. We might be better off just tabling this till we get some information, or we can get the mayor here to talk about it, or whoever has more information.
I just have one thing. If it's going to be handicap access, and will we be required to make sure that we have the permit? I'm assuming they do have all that, but just like, anybody else who wants a handicap and parking space, do we need to make sure that they have that, and that it's, a legitimate thing. I'm assuming they do. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sure if that needs to be, if it's going to be handicapped. I'm not sure, or if it's going to be a loading zone. And I mean, obviously, if it's a loading zone, then we don't need that. But if it's going to be handicap accessible, meaning only people who have handicap sticker can use this, that's my question here.
The request is for a handicap loading zone.
Okay.
So that in order to use the loading zone, you have to have a handicap designation either on the bus itself, or they would need to secure a handicap placard from the city. If another individual who for some reason needs to load is, has a handicap placard, they could use it.
Okay.
That would be highly unlikely, but we are talking about loading and unloading from a handicap minibus.
Okay. Which I believe they would have all that. They would have all that information anyway. And since they're doing this, I don't want to hold this up for this. I mean, this seems like this is very important. And since they don't have access to the rear parking anymore. And so I would like to just proceed with this. Go on, Dan Garstein.
If I can suggest, if you address the other two items on the agenda, I will try to reach out to Steve while you're addressing those two items. Hopefully, you can get the information before the close of the meeting.
Okay.
And we'll see what we can do.
All righty. We'll put this to the side then. Okay. Thank you, Dan. And so we're going to go to the next item right now. We'll come back to this new business. The second item on the new business is handicap parking on Wall Street. And this was sent in by Alderman Doug Coop and requested placement on the agenda of the appropriate count. Well, you can speak to it, Doug. Go on.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. There is hold on just a moment. So Attorney Mitchell Spinak, who has been an attorney for like 35 years and had his 36 years and has his office at 325 Wall Street. He's definitely handicapped. I went over there with the site with him. He has an appropriate parking permit number. He's a military veteran. He just wants to, and he understands that it could be, as advised by Corp Counsel, this could still be a paid parking spot, and he's willing to go forward with that. So we're asking that there be a handicap parking spot at 325 Wall Street to accommodate an attorney who's been in business there for 35 years, and I expect will be in business for several more years.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, and
John, I don't know if the city engineer has any input on this.
Yeah, thanks. I did look at it, and I have no objection to doing so. The only note, this is paid metered parking, and it would remain so if this change is adopted.
Right, and he understands that. He, the applicant, understands that.
all right, I'm just writing up some kind of resolution, and we'll see if this is good enough. And so if there's no other question, I'm gonna read the resolution. Add handicap parking space at 320 Wall Street. This
325 Wall Street.
325 Wall Street. This space will remain as paid meter parking. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And then I just said see attached, which has all the permit numbers, et cetera, that need to be.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, do I have a motion to accept this thing? Motion by Jeffrey Ventura Morel, and second by Rennie Scott Childress. Congrats, Rennie. And can I take a vote? Show of hands. All in favor? I got Jeffrey. I got Rennie. I got Doug. And I just need to see Patrick because he's sitting for. Thank you, Patrick. So that's 5 yeses and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously we have no no's on this. So thank you. And so send this out. And then that's Doug, yes. Randy's yes, Jeffrey yes, and Patrick is sitting in for Michelle. And yes. All righty. Thank you. Got that one off. And I see attached. All righty. Next item on, and Dan, just let me know when you got some information. We can come back to you. And so right now, and that was all of the new business. And under old business, we have the Chief Riggins plaque modification, and that got sent back to committee at last month's Common Council meeting. And Steve and Shabbat, Alderman Shabbat, if you want to speak in regard to this.
Sure. Well, we sent it back. It was the resolution was passed unanimously, and then we kind of find out at the 11th hour that there was a little technicality involving the doors, the entranceway to police headquarters and court. So I don't know if anybody has the pictures. You see the doors on the front. It's the upper front of police headquarters, the old city hall, if you will. Technically speaking, the left-hand door is for the police department, and the right-hand door is for the court system. So we're not allowed to put anything over the court system door. I've spoken with the family about this. They've already purchased the lettering. So they were going to get together with Timely Signs to see if they can still use the lettering and, move it to the appropriate door. So I really haven't heard, but, I suspect, they're going to get it done even if they have to purchase new lettering. They want this done. Now, there are a couple caveats here. The left-hand police door is actually, I just found this out from Chief Tinty, it is not operational. It is sealed shut. So technically, it's not an entrance. The true entrance to the police department is on the lower level around the back where everybody goes in. Nobody uses the front door. Now, I think the family, really wants this more as a memorial for Chief Riggins. If they want to put lettering, I think we can put lettering on the top, but it's really not the entrance. Down at the bottom is more appropriate. I think we already passed that resolution. The only other thing I want to add to this is the plaque. Originally, they requested that the plaque be at this entrance that we're looking at in the pictures, but since that is really not usable, I don't really think that's a practical idea. I talked to the police chief about this also, and I think Chief Riggins would be better served to have the plaque somewhere near the true police entrance. I think it's a bronze plaque. I think it's metal. So it may go outside or right inside the door, I think would be better. I think it's, if we put it up at the doors that was originally requested, nobody's ever going to see this plaque. It's just going to be hammered on a wall, and, that'll be the end of it. So I just found that out yesterday. So, I'll speak to the family again about the plaque, but we approved placement of the plaque already, just a different location. I think everything is really approved. A matter of, moving what we approved, to the other door. So, I guess this would be up to Dan. If we can, I don't even know if we really have to approve it again, because we did. We can, we can approve it again and say subject to the family's redone design, if we want to do something like that.
My question is, Steve, is that why don't we just have this all set? I mean, if we're going to pass this and then the family comes back and says, well, we want the lettering out front and with the door that doesn't work. Now it has to come back or has to be modified on the floor. And so I understand why hasn't been discussion with the family about that the lettering has to go on the back of the rear of, and I didn't even know what we call this, the rear, go on to the rear entrance of the police department. And that, is that what it should say? That the lettering has to go above the door, it's going to be placed above the door of the rear entrance to the police department headquarters.
Well, it can go either technically, I mean, I guess practically, the true entrance is down in the back of the building. That's what everybody uses. Nobody can use this door on top. So if they want to put it there, I mean, it would just be a memorial. It's not going to signify the entrance to the police station or anything like that. I mean, I can firm this up with them again. Again, I just found this out yesterday, about this door not working. I thought it was still, an entrance to the police. I thought it could be used. So if you want me to speak to the family again, I can do that.
I just don't want to have it delayed. And, this is going on and on. I mean, I have to just refer to Corp Counsel. If I can use the resolution that we passed out, committee report that we passed out last month back in May, or do I have to write up a whole new one?
I think as long as you're all clear on what is being requested and you all believe that it's appropriate, you can pass a skeletal resolution and have it all clarified prior to the meeting. It doesn't sound to me like it's clear what's being requested, and there's a meeting of, the minds here with regard to whether or not you're in favor of it.
That's my concern. I mean,
I'm not concerned about the language of the resolution. I'm just concerned that it doesn't sound like you all understand what's being requested.
I mean, I can read the resolution or the committee report that was passed out last month in May. It said a group representing the late Kingston Police Chief James Riggins requested to add additional lettering to the facade of both front and back of Kingston Police Headquarters, a modification to approve July 2018 committee Common Council legislation. So we're going back to 2018, and we still haven't gotten this. Also requests a small plaque honoring Chief Riggins inside front door of headquarters. No cost to the city, private contributions. See attached. Now, do I have to change any of that? I'm assuming it has to say a group representing the late Police Chief James Riggins requesting to add additional lettering to the facade of the back of the Kingston Police Headquarters. A modification approved, blah, blah, July 2018 Commission Common Council legislation. Also requests a small plaque honoring Chief Riggins inside front door or rear door of headquarters. I think they both will have to say rear door. Am I correct, Steve?
Does everyone understand, or, how many of you have been to city court or to the police station?
I've been to the police station, but it was
Okay.
for a good reason.
So just so you all understand, the front of the building is not the entrance to the court or the police station. So when you approved lettering to the front of the building, I believe that there was some confusion as to whether or not that lettering was actually going to be over the entrance to the building, which is in the back.
Correct. And that's why I think I need to make sure I clarified that it says the rear entrance or the facade of the.
You could also just say the main entrance to the police station.
Alrighty.
With the understanding of the committee that that's in the back of the building.
That's correct. Right.
Nobody is challenging your committee report or the action of the council. The only issue is whether you understand what you're doing.
Right. Any questions on that? I'm just going through any questions. So then I'll just read this once again so we can prove it. A group representing the late Kingston Police Chief James Riggins requesting to add additional lettering to the main entrance of the Kingston Police Headquarters. A modification to approve July 2018 Common Council legislation. Also requests a small plaque honoring Chief Riggins inside the main front door of the headquarters. No cost to the city, private contributions. Does that sound great? Do I have a Steve?
Yeah, well, the only thing I would add to that, as I said, I don't know that putting a plaque inside the upper door is really going to serve much purpose. I hate to start changing the wording, but I think the plaque would be better off at the lower entrance where people actually go into police headquarters.
That is what Dan just considered as the main entrance to the police headquarters. That's the main.
Okay, fine. As long as we're all on the same page, that's good. Okay.
Do I have a motion for that? Do I need to read it again? Do I have a motion? Jeffrey, Rennie Scott Childress, and second by Jeffrey Ventura Morel. All in favor, show a thumb, please. Okay, so let me see here. I gotta go. I got Patrick, Rennie, I got Jeffrey, and I got Doug. All right, so it's 5 in favor, none against. Thank you, guys. Let me get this down. So yes, Patrick's in here, Rennie's in here, Jeffrey's in here, and then we got Doug.
Hey, Steve, I might follow up on this if I was you, just to check to make sure, the family's okay with all this,
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to talk to the family first thing in the morning, and we'll make sure we got it right this time.
And the only thing is, and Steve, because these diagrams, these pictures are, I can't put them attached because that's showing out in the front of the building. So
right,
that's why
that's
we're
fine.
make sure this communicate.
Right.
All right.
And Steve, that entrance to the police department takes a lot of abuse. You know what I'm saying? It's a very well-used entrance.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, do you have
Okay.
any updates, Dan, Corporation, Dan Garstein, Corp Counsel, in regard to the first item on the agenda before I move on?
Yeah, I spoke briefly to Steve, or rather communicated with Steve. Steve's in an event and he really is not available to appear. His understanding is it would be 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. It would be directly in front of 311 Wall Street. And it would be a handicapped accessible loading zone that would be used primarily by essentially a minibus / van that would be unloading for want of a better term, students into the building. Certainly, it could be passed out this evening, and anyone who has any questions can, forward them between now and next week. It's a, difficult situation there now because my understanding is that they have to double park and unload handicapped individuals into the building. And obviously that's an untenable situation. So, there is, so it is time sensitive.
Finest. Okay. So does anybody have any other questions? And Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Yeah, I think, Dan, I think this is time sensitive. We need to go ahead with this, but I'm wondering, will we need to make a curb cut at that location, John Schulteis? Will we need to make a curb cut for these so that they can access the sidewalk?
Hi, it's John Schulteis. I don't believe that's part of the request, and if so, that should be an applicant cost, not a city cost. I do have One thing I could offer to do, Tony, if it's helpful, is share my screen with a photo of this location. I don't know if that's of interest to anyone.
Yes, I believe Elisa Tinty would have to.
Yeah, hold on one second. Okay, you should be all set, John.
Okay. I'm trying to share the screen here. I don't know if
There
you're
it
able to
goes.
see the,
Yes, we are.
I believe this is the location in question. There's like a silver sedan shown in this photo. I believe this is the spot that's being requested. Perhaps Dan could confirm.
I believe that's accurate.
Correct. So it does look like it would have to be a cutout.
I believe that the handicap vans are equipped with lifts
Okay.
that lower down onto the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's just my assumption. I've never seen this particular van. I assume that if they needed a curb cut, they would be asking for it.
I also note that there's a bit of space there that's been blocked out, so that actually could be, opened up to extend the space there depending on how big the bus is. So it'd be great if we could only lose one spot there, because we just gave up another spot, for the lawyer a little further up the block there.
Well, that's a handicap that's also paid per meter, right? I understand what you're saying, Reed. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
My understanding is they're only asking for one spot. I mean, the communication clearly says a loading zone on the left side of meter 342.
So that would
Can
be,
anybody speak to how many handicap parking spots we have uptown now on that street and that maybe on that block even?
I'm aware of one other.
So there's 3.
There's only one currently. We just added another one, and this would be the third one.
And how many spots are on that block? Parking spaces.
I don't have the number, but it's probably.
Are we using 50% of the spaces for handicap accessibility?
No, nowhere near 50%. Plus, you've got 2 large lots that are just around the corner.
So does that mean that no one would ever be able to park there? It's 100% dedicated towards a handicap parking zone?
No, I thought there was a time limit for it.
Yeah, that's my question.
Dan Gartenstein, didn't you say there was or
8
John?
to 5, one day to Friday.
Yeah.
Say again, Dan?
8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday.
So that
And
means all week long, nobody else can park there. Is that right?
correct.
unless
Which
you have,
means 95% of the time, that spot's going to be empty. That doesn't make any sense.
well, unless you have a handicap, unless somebody else has a handicap sticker.
Yeah, but the majority of the time, it's going to be empty.
Correct.
I mean, I guess I would be supportive of enabling a handicap, loading on and off, but to make it dedicated 100% of the time when it's only used 5% of the time, that's false economy. I think we need to discuss this more. So I would vote to table this.
Hey, John Schulteis, how many parking spaces do you know are on between John Street and North Front Street on that block?
If you give me a minute, I could give you an estimate.
Well, we have a motion on the table to table this. I don't know.
Well, we haven't had a motion to discuss it, so we can't table it.
Okay, we have a
right?
motion to discuss. Yep, sorry. Can we have a motion?
And are there any other loading zones in there? I know.
I'm seeing approximately 20 on-street parking spaces in that block. And I don't think anything else is labeled as a loading zone.
There's a loading zone right around the corner on John Street in front of the Kinsley Hotel, or, at the Kinsley Hotel, John Street entrance.
Three spaces, I believe, Vinny.
Yeah. So the question is that too far to move people in wheelchairs?
Well, I believe those, if I'm not mistaken, those spots in front of the Kingsley are currently being used for outdoor dining.
You're right.
Right.
They are right now. Yes. Forgot.
Again, I support the concept of having dedicated loading zones for handicapped people, particularly children. But when if you're only using it 5% of the time, and it just takes parking spaces away from where it's really, really needed. If there's some way that we can limit the time, or I don't know how to do it, but I don't like it that it's unavailable 95%, approximately 95% of the time.
So what Doug's saying, is there like a drop-off time for the children in the morning, and then maybe from 8 to 10 or something like that, and then a pickup time from, let's say, 2 to 4, or do they get dropped off and pick up all day? I think Doug would like it a little bit more synchronized with the drop-offs of the children.
Alderman Rennie Scott Childress.
If what Alderman O'Reilly said is a question to one of the staff, then I would let him go. But I'm considering making a motion to adopt this measure just so we can discuss it and come to a resolution. But if somebody can answer Patrick's question.
Anyone? Corp
I
Counsel?
can't tell you, well, I don't know enough about the operation to tell you precisely when the buses pull up and when they leave. My understanding is it's an 8 to 5, operation, and the buses come and go all day. That could be inaccurate, but if you proceed under the assumption that it's 8 to 5 and you get clarification between now and the time you vote on it, you move this thing forward. You don't, continue what is potentially an untenable situation, where handicapped individuals don't have a means of being unloaded and loaded from their van safely, and everyone's questions get answered. Moving it forward is not approving it. Moving it forward is sending it, to caucus on the floor, and you can vote on it then.
So I would then like to make a motion. I would like to move that we adopt this resolution.
I got a motion to adopt this resolution. Do I have a second? Patrick? And any discussion on this? Do we have more discussion, Rennie? Keep me right.
Yeah, I building on what Dan Gartenstein said, I understand the concern about losing a parking space. On the other hand, for me, there's a bigger concern about this group of folks being really inconvenienced in what I think is an untenable way. I think we have to take great care for the folks who are moving in and out of that facility. And I would be very much in favor of approving this resolution, particularly if we can get a little bit more information before caucus, which I don't see any problem with getting.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I will oppose this. Again, I'm very supportive of having this facility available for handicapped, particularly children, on and off. But you're going to go by there, and it's going to be used at most once an hour, once every 2 hours for 2 or 3 minutes, and and parking is at a premium up there. I don't like this. I'm a no vote on this.
All right. And Alderman Rennie Scott Childress?
Yeah, I would like to note that, as Dan Gartenstein pointed out, we're voting now basically to send this to the Common Council, so we can always vote no on it later. But I mean, I'll vote yes for it. I just think it's really important that we support the folks at the ARC there.
Yeah, but sending it to caucus implies that this committee is in favor of it. Now, if that's the case, okay.
Yeah.
But I am not.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it.
All right. So, and let me read I'm trying to figure out how to write this back. And a request for a loading zone at 311 Wall Street. And do I have to indicate city engineer the left side of meter number 342? And that would be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Yeah, I believe that's an accurate description.
That's right. So a request, let me just write that, a request for a loading zone at 311 Wall Street, left side of meter number 342, and then Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I believe, do I take the motion again as our Rennie Scott Childress? You already did the motion, right? And Patrick O'Reilly second. All right, Rennie Scott Childress, Patrick O'Reilly. And in favor of it, show me your thumbs, please. I got Jeffrey, I got Patrick. Let me go back here. I got Rennie, and I got myself. All right, opposed? Doug Coop. So, and the opposition opposed to this resolution, just for the record, is Doug Coop.
Tony, if I can just ask if there are questions with regard to the specific use, if those can be forwarded tomorrow so that they can be sent on to the ARC folks so that we have answers. Just as soon as possible, just send an email saying, this is the specific information that I am requesting, and we will get it to ARC.
So that you want that from whoever has any questions, or that should come from me?
Anyone can email them to me. That's fine. I would just prefer getting them tomorrow rather than leaving it to the last minute, and scrambling around trying to find someone from ARC who can answer.
Well, the only question I have is do they need all that time, or can we make it specific to a drop off and pickup time during the day?
Just, Patrick, just either send me an email or send me a text.
Okay.
Okay. That was the second item on, I'm sorry, that was the first item on the new business. And the second item on old business is a loading zone request from Rucco at 20 Cedar Street. And City Engineer John Schulteis has provided some more additional information for committee members, and you should have received that today. And so, and then I believe we have Representative Chuck Snyder from Representative Rucco, and I believe Drew Andrews from CCE and Energy Square online if you have any specific questions. So again, the request was, if I go back here, was to our proposal script drop off no parking zone in front of the recently completed Energy Square building at 20 Cedar Street. The drop off zone is intended for dual use by the Energy Square tenancy and users of the Center for Creative Education on the first floor. It will require elimination of approximately 6 on-street parking spaces, but provide an additional handicap parking space closest to the corner of Iwo Lane. We believe this will provide safer means to transfer children in and out of CCE and Energy Square, increase visibility for right-turning vehicles from Iwo Jima, and eliminate the inclination of double park that currently takes place on Cedar Street. RUPCO and CCE will share in the execution of work, which we anticipate is limited to pavement marking only. I think this is old. That was what we discussed last month, and there was a lot of questions at last month's public safety, and so we got back here and discussed this again. And sent back to public safety, I believe. Not sure how this voted, but it was sent back to public safety. So we're here. And any questions we have Chuck Snyder from RUPCO, representing RUPCO, and we have Drew Andrews representing CCE and Energy Square. If there's any other questions or additional questions for them. Alderman Randy Scott Childress.
I wonder, Chuck, Drew, did either of you get in touch with the management at UPAC there to see what their concerns might be, or if they were okay with setting aside these parking spaces during the day on weekdays?
Yeah. You want to go first, Chuck?
I was going to say, I'll defer that question to you, Drew.
Okay, yeah. So I had a long conversation with Chris Silver today about our partnership. He did state that his last partnership, I guess, with the previous owner of this space here prior to Energy Square, wasn't it was kind of a contentious one. But I'm on the board, and he said it can only we can only make it better. He knows that if there's something going on at UPAC, we're the first ones to know. And I said, we will work together to make sure that him and his residents and or participants at UPAC will have the space, and we'll just work together and stay in communique. He said he's willing to write or speak to our collaboration. And yeah, so yeah, he's well aware and he's in support.
I just want to clarify though, Drew, so that's in support of these spaces being set aside during the daytime from something like 8 to 5?
Yes, 8 to 5 or so. And during like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, there's no conflict at all. And he knows that. And if there's any type of special events and he needs the space, he knows that. As a matter of fact, it was discussed that we will make that available for him. No worries at all. Yeah.
Any other questions? Alderman Doug Coop?
Yeah, Drew, I go by the facility there 3 or 4 times a week, like at 4:45 in the morning. And there are always 4, 5, 6 cars parked there. Now, in the normal course of a day, are those cars gone by 8 o'clock?
What do you mean, around 8 a.m.?
No. I go by there. I see cars parked there, at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Several times a week. So it's obviously used as a parking space. You're talking about making this available for loading from 8 to 5, which means those cars would have to move. Do they in fact move? If I go by there at 8:01 tomorrow morning, will I see these cars?
You'll probably see cars there right now.
So in other words, you're eliminating the trade-off here is you're eliminating parking spaces.
For a certain amount of time while our day program is happening, yes, we are asking for a loading zone, a drop-off from school parents. Yeah.
That again would go to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all day long. I mean, this is similar to what we just discussed in Wall Street.
Yeah.
You have a situation where you're providing a loading zone that is actually only used for loading and unloading a very small percentage of the time.
Well, we have drop-offs all day. As of September, we'll have a day program, and within our day program, parents are dropping young people off between 8 and 12, and then 12 and 3. And then we have an after-school program that starts. And then we have a senior program that also starts after 4. But that should be fine. By 5, we should, things will open up. But it will be an all day kind of, come and go sort of deal on Cedar.
And I'm sorry, Alderman Coop, do you have any other questions?
No.
And Alderman Patrick O'Reilly?
Hey, Drew, how you doing?
How you doing, Patrick?
Good. Hey, Drew, 6 spaces are being taken, 1 for handicap and then 5 more. Is that so you can pull the car in and pull the car out? Is that what that's so they don't have to parallel park? They can actually just pull right in and pull right out. Is that what's going on?
Well, pulling into our space is really important. A lot of speeding cars on Cedar Street. It's really dangerous. I think Chuck should also speak to that, because I think what's happening is we're sharing space. We also have seniors and will need handicapped accessibility as well. I'm supposing next door at Cedar, but for CCE we definitely need a pull in. We need that.
What I'm saying, is it a pull in, or is it like 6 spots that they have to parallel park back and then let the kids out?
Well, I only feel, I don't know between Rupco, because I think Rupco also needs space. I know I would love for CCE to have at least 3 to 4 spaces, and I'm thinking that the rest of the space will be Rupco. And yes, it would be to pull in and drop off to get the cars off the street for parents.
So it wouldn't.
I'll take a stab at that. I think that the periods that are most important for CCE's transfer of kids is, they get 20 kids that show up within a 5-minute period, that kind of thing. So there's likely that you could have 2 or 3 cars easily stacked up unloading kids at the same time. When they're not there, why would you parallel park? You would swing in, you'd swing out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's
My question, I guess,
being used.
My question is this: are there 6 parallel parking spaces that are going to be, hopefully when nobody's in them, you're going to just pull in, or are they, or is it going to be designed where there's like a where you pull in, there's like 2 or 3 spaces, like in front of a hotel kind of, where you pull in and there's 2 or 3 spaces that are just open and you just pull in, drop off and pull out? Or are these going to be designated parking spaces, where you, in off hours, you could actually parallel park? I mean, it's a different kind of thing,
Right.
I envisioned it more like a hotel. However, if it has a time limit so that after 5 it goes back to parking, I imagine we'd stripe parking spaces.
Yeah. But I'm thinking pull in, drop off, and pull out.
But if there's parking spaces there, then some people can just pull in and park, right?
No, we're trying to eliminate that pull in and park thing. That's why we need the drop off zone.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I got Rennie Scott Childerston, then Doug Coop. Rennie, Alderman.
Yeah, I understand that. So not only is it CCE, but you've got residents in the building and other uses there, the restaurant and so forth. So, if you had a designated parking space, that becomes a problem, because you've got a fair number of people driving in there. And if you've got cars parked in some of those spaces, and then you've got to have a car kind of try to figure out how to get in or parallel park, you're creating congestion on that street. And then if you've got cars that are double parked, you're again creating more congestion on the street. So it seems like to me the pull in, the as you're calling it, the hotel model, it seems to me that that's the best approach here.
Yeah.
Alderman Doug Coop.
Yeah, I think the situation is a little bit different than what we just discussed at 311 Wall Street, where I made known my objections. But I think at this facility, I think the utilization of drop-offs and pickups is much higher. And it could go on several times an hour, all during the day. So for that reason, I would side on the safety aspects and the convenience. So, I would be supportive of this.
I just had some questions if I could. And was there any alternatives to this parking and considered? I went over there the day after and I drove through, and I did drive through in the entrance that says you can go into the back. And I drove through there. It's parking for the tenants or for the people living there. But if you go into that parking lot, you make a right, it was a considerable amount of space in there that someone would be able to drop off or pick up and be able to utilize the doors, the rear doors to those buildings. So I'm not sure if that's been discussed. I mean, again,
Yeah.
When I looked in there, it was wide enough space that somebody's parked. So another car that's exiting out of that building onto Iajima would still be able to get past. So you would be able to have pickup and drop off there. And we've talked about the hours needed. I'm assuming it's 8 to 5. Is that also have we thought about, or what's the thing about having like a 20-minute parking and there and limited? Or would that be able to help you guys out if we had like a 20-minute with still people be able to pull off? Obviously, they could park there no more than 20 minutes, be able to pull off and drop off and then keep on going.
Yeah, Dave, that's Tony, that's the first thing that we considered. So we wouldn't have to go through, this whole thing, and we can keep the streets open. But even in the back, cars are moving in there daily. It's backing up and it's really dangerous. And there's no pulling. There's no way to pull anyone off the street. And if you're back there and you have vans and you have cars backing up and it's a lot of through traffic, it's just not safe enough back there. And it's a little more congested than a wider street.
Has there been any thought about 20-minute parking?
Yeah.
Let me take a stab at that. That to me confuses the issue. I think I'm not sure. Maybe I don't completely understand it, but if we're looking to create a safe environment to load and unload kids, I would want to promote people to get in and get out as fast as possible so the next person could utilize it. If you put a 20-minute limit to it, I don't know, that means somebody can park, run down the street and get a cup of coffee and come back. They're not using it the way that I think we need to use it.
All right. No, I was just looking at this as taking up one space. I know discussion last month and the thing was about this 6 spaces that are going to be utilized up. And that's why I was just thinking 20-minute would be one space and then be able to pull in, someone drop off and pick up and go back out. But I understand the volume you guys are saying at certain times. And
yeah,
that might not actually work. And if you got that many cars coming in at one time. The other thing is, how are we going to enforce this? Enforcement.
Is that a question for us?
Yep.
Well, we'll have monitors. We have monitors that pick the children up outside, starting actually July 5th, when we start our summer arts and education program. I've also had a long talk with Stacia from the school. We're trying to work at drop off and pickups for the school district buses as well. And that's another reason why I think this would be a great idea for the safety and to help where the school district also needs some support.
So you're going to have monitors out there basically who would be able to bring the child out to the vehicle or take the child in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So then the parents wouldn't really have to park their cars for a long period of time to drop off and pick up if you're going to have monitors doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Because that was a discussion last week or last month, whatever it was, about all the parents have to park the cars. They have to go in and pick the children up, or they have to, drop the children off. If you have monitors going to be out there, they're going to be doing that. So
Yeah.
it shouldn't take that much time to do that. If monitors are out there to pick them up, a child pulls up, a car pulls up. I'm just saying, work with me. A car pulls up, a monitor is going to be out there, is going to open that door, get that child out, and the parent can just pull off.
Yeah, that's
Or vice versa. When the parent comes to pick the child up, the monitor would bring the child out, get him in a car, and the person would be able to pull off.
correct.
All right. Alderman Patrick O'Reilly. Jeffrey.
Hey, Drew, you mentioned that, I'm trying to find you on my screen here, Drew, so I can look at you. There you are. Hang on. There you are, Drew.
You're next, Jeffrey.
You said, yeah, I know, I'm doing that. I'm going like this. I'm sorry. You said that you're probably, a few of the spaces would be used for the tenants. Is that correct? You imagine that it would
Chuck.
be?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. What do you think, Chuck?
Yeah, I view a benefit to the residents that are there for a taxi drop. As Drew
All
said,
right.
I think they use that now in the rear of the building. It doesn't work so well for CCE in the rear because their point of control and their administrative desk is in the front of the building.
Okay.
But I would think that if there was the ability for a taxi to pull up, if somebody called for a taxi in the front of the building that was a resident, they'd get it there. Makes perfect sense to me, just like your hotel model.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking, that the residents probably have a little different need than CCE does. They might need to unload or load for groceries or something else. So Tony's 20-minute idea might be actually good for one or two of the spaces, so they can unload their groceries or unload their laundry, whatever they have. I don't know what they might have to get into the building, put it away and then get out of there or whatever they need to do. So I would think that a resident might need a little bit different than just a drop off. They might need a little bit more time. So I was thinking maybe a couple of spaces could be 20 minutes and then the rest of the spaces be the hotel pull in and pull out. That might be beneficial for both. I don't know. Drew would know better.
Yeah, that's, what Repco does is I just want my my kids to be able to, parents to not stress out and leave cars double parked when there's a lot of through traffic on Cedar. I just want it for the safety reasons. And, that's pretty much what my reasoning is.
Yeah, but I was just saying, if it's for, like we said, it's probably going to be used for dual purpose.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So the residents would have maybe a little bit different need than CCE.
Yep.
That's all. And maybe we can accommodate that. That's all I'm saying. While we're there, maybe we can accommodate them a little bit too.
That's right. I agree. Wouldn't
So
hurt.
maybe Tony's 20 minutes.
I'm not overly concerned on that point, Patrick. There's plenty of parking in the rear of the building that's not completely utilized all the time.
Okay. I thought that. Okay.
I think the 20-minute thing to me, I think is confusing to what we're trying to get to. I could be corrected, but it's
Okay, but I just didn't know about the 6 spaces. Drew said he imagined like 3 of the spaces for CCE pulling in and pulling out, and then maybe 2 of the spaces would be used for the Rubco. So I was just trying to think about that. That's all.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I don't think we need to draw a line in the sand. It's not that black and white.
Okay.
Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel.
Thank you, Tony. Jeffrey Ventura Morel here. I have a question for Drew. You mentioned a program that's starting in September, and you said it was going to be like a daycare after school type program. Is that a program that's already existing, or is that something you need to get a license for?
So we're working on licensing now. We started a drop-in program during the pandemic for kids to access food and Wi-Fi and technology, so they can go, have some support during schooling. So that model has morphed into a need that CCE found in our community, which is childcare and affordable childcare. So my conversation with Dr. Padalino and Stacia was, how do we go about creating something where we can supplement parents, possibly through UPK, where there's where they have a safe space to be that's in town, something that's affordable and accessible in Midtown Kingston. So again, that morphed, and we are in. I think tomorrow we have the fire inspection. OCFS has approved the space. We're working with family to complete, all we can in terms of certifications for September. So it's something we've served over through the pandemic, 143 kids, here at CCE. And it was something that was needed, something that, we're like, okay, we see what the next need for Kingston is as far as the center. So that now is going to be early childhood education. And when approved through the school district, it'll be a UPK, Universal Pre-K. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tony, if I can just jump in here for a second, because,
Yes.
We are moving way backwards here. We had a discussion about this last month. We also discussed this back in November, and I think it needs to be clarified that the use that Drew is speaking about is not an approved use at this point, and you cannot base your decision on the loading zone on a hypothetical use that's not either licensed or currently authorized under the code or approved under the site plan. And this is why the request went sideways back in November. We had a long discussion about this last month. The decision you make today has to be based on whether RUPCO, coupled with the approved use by CCE, which is an arts and education program that is permitted in that zone, supports a loading zone. Not whether a hypothetical use as a daycare center or some sort of preschool center would support a loading zone, because that's not relevant at this point. If they get licensed and get approved and the site plan is amended to authorize this use, they could come back and ask for a loading zone based upon that approved use. Okay, but right now the decision is not about a hypothetical use. It's about what was initially approved there. The drop-in center that was established as a result of the emergency provisions under COVID, those emergency provisions are abating this month, next month. So again, we're back to the approved use, plus whether or not the apartment complex needs a loading zone. So you have to keep those issues separate. I know we discussed this, at 2 or 3 meetings already. But the conversation is going backwards on that issue.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Dan Garstein. So again, I believe Dan's saying we shouldn't be looking into if they're going to have a daycare in the future, and we shouldn't be looking at the COVID thing now, because that is going to be lifted in very shortly. And again, it's what RUPCO, that building was originally built for, and the tenants in there, do they need a loading zone? And that is what we need to be concerned. That's what we should be concentrating on, right? And they're requesting a loading zone, which again, and John Schulteis, city engineer, you can weigh in on this, which I believe he talked about last week. It's going to, and what has been stated, is going to be about approximately 5 to 6 spaces, parking spaces.
Yes, that's correct. And there was a sketch submitted by the applicant, which I have. I don't think it made it into your package for tonight. But it was attached, I believe, to an email. Again, I could share my screen if it's helpful.
Yes, if you wanted to, just in case some people did not have a chance to see it. I did see it, but it's not in my packet.
This, if you're seeing this is a sketch showing Cedar Street on the top, and they've dimensioned out roughly 20-foot space for handicap, then another 80 feet for the loading and unloading zone.
So if I'm looking at this correct, the first space after you turn on from Iajima to Cedar Street is the handicap space.
Yeah, that's where my cursor is now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then precedingly right after that is really be the loading zone.
Right. And this that's labeled as 80 feet.
All righty. So basically, approximately from what I'm looking here, that would take up the entire space in front of that 20 Cedar Street, all the way to the, it looks like wherever they're parking, wherever their off-street parking entrance is.
It's not quite that far. I
right.
believe the frontage, the total frontage on Cedar Street is over 200 feet. And so this does not use all of that.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I mean, again, is there any more questions on this? I'm just trying to, do I have to reword this, or are we set with this? I'm just trying to. Trying to find my old, and go on. If we can get out of here once you end it, John, so I can see who wants to speak. And let me see here. We got Patrick O'Reilly and Patrick O'Reilly. I don't see anybody else's hand, but go on, Patrick. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Patrick.
This is a Drew's John Schulteis type question. Drew, you said you talked to the people over at UPAC and they were in favor of it, and you were willing to help them, in times of their need and for their capacity at certain times. But I do see a little problem, Drew. Once we put up signs that say loading and no loading, legally those signs are up. So it's going to be very difficult for anybody to park there if those signs go up. John, do you know how Drew's going to be able to help UPAC during certain times when they have certain events? And how's that going to work?
I mean, from the city's point of view, you're right. Once the signs are up, that's it, unless it establishes a time of day that, limitation.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were thinking of, and I'm definitely in favor of that. Between the times that we stated, I think we said 8 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
anything.
Yep. Go on, Drew.
Yeah. So anything starting at UPAC usually starts 6, 7, and that's the conversation I had with Chris as well. And so.
Okay.
Because I know.
All right, thank you, Drew. I thought you meant during the day you might be able to help them out during, like when they have the afternoon shows, matinee shows, things like that.
Oh yeah, but if he needed space, of course, I would put out cones to avoid people parking, and then we would just either have the monitors, or we can work with UPAC monitors to also give people access to that space. We're partners, so there's nothing that we wouldn't help them with.
I know across the street from that, UPAC has a loading zone, which is approximately, which I believe from this glance is maybe one vehicle, or if that. And that's a loading zone is approximately directly across from you, but I believe that loading zone is just a one vehicle in length. You guys are requesting a little bit considerably more and spaces.
Yeah, I think there's a little bigger. I mean, they've had huge trucks, trailers pull up. So yeah, I think it's going to be simple to the collaboration is going to be simple in terms of their needs and our ability to help support UPAC and the work that they're doing. So again, I say, as long as we're open and we're accessible, he has my phone number, my cell. He can always run across here, and we speak often. Again, I'm on the board of UPAC Bardavon, so we want this to work. That's what we're here for. But we want safety. We want our children and parents not to stress about, parking and walking their kids and doing that whole thing. We want to make sure that this could flow in Cedar Street.
Okay. Rennie Scott Childress.
I would like to move that we accept this request for the use of Energy Square tenants.
All right. And in a second, Jeffrey Ventura Morel. So I just have had to just read this literature. I'm just going to go off what was I wrote last week or last month. Request from RUPCO for a proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building at 20 Cedar Street. And John, would I have to include any diagrams or anything like that? Or would that? Just trying to make sure I have everything I need if we go forward with this.
Yeah, Tony, if you wanted to refer to that sketch dated April 1st, 2021 for the geometry.
So refer to diagram dated what?
April 1st, 2021.
April 1st, 2021. Refer to diagram dated April 1st, 2001.
And does it, Tony, does it clarify between the hours of 8 and 5?
Oh, thank you. Let me reread this. Request from RUPCO for proposed loading zone for general use of the entire building at 20 Cedar Street from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And was it Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
Monday through Friday. See attached, refer to diagram dated 4/1/2021. That is the motion on it. We've had a motion. It was motioned by Randy Scott Childress, second by Jeffrey Ventura Morel. And all in favor, raise your hand, I guess, or thumb. Give me the thumb. Donna Vella gave me the thumb, bet she doesn't count. He doesn't count. Doug, Jeffrey, Patrick. Okay. So myself. So, and it's passed, or the committee report is passed out at committee.
Thank you.
And no motions. And so this will go to the full council. And hopefully are the people here, because it's probably going to be several questions come our July caucus and meeting. And so, and let's just make sure we remember what we had discussion here. And
Hey, Tony, I got
Yeah.
one more question.
yeah, can it?
John
Go on.
Schulteis, is the handicap parking space a loading zone, or is that actually a parking space?
As drawn here, it's parking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. There's no more questions. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
That was passed by everybody. So let me just get this, make sure I got this all right here before I go on. And then I'm thinking about it later on. And Coop and Patrick is in for Michelle. All right, and that was, everybody was a yes on it. So it's me, it was Doug, it was Rennie, it was Jeffrey, and it was Patrick. Okay, and it was motioned by Rennie Scott Childress and second by Jeffrey Ventura Morel. Okay, I'll just write that up later, see it attached, et cetera, et cetera. I'll get all this stuff to you and at least as soon as possible. And then the last item on our agenda, and on the agenda is always stop intersection at Greenkill and Wilbur Avenue. And John Schulteis, city engineer, and you have some more information you'd like to and share with us?
I did, and I think it made its way, hopefully, to everyone in the form of additional clarifications. The request remains the same to replace the signalized intersection with a stop sign controlled intersection with always stop. In my letter, I attempted to answer the questions that I'd heard, but I'm available for any more clarification that anyone would like.
And Rennie Scott Childress, anybody else have questions so I can get them in order? I just have Rennie. And then Patrick. So Rennie Scott Childress and then Patrick O'Reilly. Go on, Rennie.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
John, is the traffic signal at that intersection, is it one that is in need of replacing? Is that one of the things that's motivating this this change?
Well, yes, it does lack some of the modern features that new traffic signals have, such as pedestrian push buttons and the solid state digital controllers. So, you know, this is somewhat newer than some of the ones we replaced along Washington Avenue, for example, that used a time clock mechanical equipment. But nonetheless, yes, this is somewhat obsolete technology.
And what about how expensive are the flashing red lights? You know, just the one light per direction?
I don't have the pricing on something like that, a flashing beacon.
And what's the criteria? What are the criteria for deciding to put one of those in as opposed to purely a four-way stop
Right.
versus the traffic light?
The beacons should be used sparingly, and the guidance I've seen on them has to do with unusual locations that have that maybe don't meet driver expectancy. Perhaps rural areas, you know, might benefit from those if the spacing between stop intersections is very long and drivers are not necessarily expecting it. In an urban area such as this, you know, you're in between Clinton and the Five Corners with Boulevard. You know, in my opinion, people are expecting an intersection and expecting to possibly have to stop. So.
And where exactly would the stop signs go, particularly on Greenkill, as you're heading from Washington toward Wilbur and then up toward Barman Park? Because you've got the bike lane there, so
Yep.
Would this have to go like kind of out in the street between the bike lane and the street?
Yeah, it is it will be an in pavement location, which we already have. You know, the ones for the bicycles are installed that way, and these larger ones for cars would be as well.
Mm-hmm. And so you don't think that this is kind of an unusual place because you've got that hill that's coming down, and then you got the hill going back up. I'm just wondering about the flashing light.
Mm-hmm. It's not unusual enough to warrant a signal. You know, traffic signals follow a list of 8 warrants. In general, the roadway geometry is not generally one of those warrants. It has more to do with volume. So the presence of a slope is not a warrant for a traffic signal.
Okay, thank you.
Patrick O'Reilly, Alderman Patrick O'Reilly.
Yeah, this question is, hi, Patrick O'Reilly. This question for John. Hang on one second. Hi, John. I actually know a man that hit 2 kids on a bicycle coming down the hill there because he couldn't see them at night. My question is about the lighting. And by the way, he says he'll never forget it. It was the worst experience of his life. And I'm concerned about the lighting there at night specifically. That's the 2 downward hills, the almost tunnel-like across the street from Wilbur Avenue. As you go across the street, it's almost like that road is very narrow and the houses are close and it's almost like a tunnel. And is there proper lighting there, John, at night? I know that can be a problem.
Well, I will just note, there's no minimum lighting level necessarily established for all locations in the city. Whether it's properly lit, a signal, yeah, it's visible at night in a way that other features may not be. But if there's improper lighting here, the signal is not a substitute for that, especially, as we add more pedestrians and bikes into this location. That should be probably should be looked at. And I have not visited the site at night recently to check the proper functioning of what is there. There is lighting in the vicinity. Whether it's enough is not really part of the current question.
Huh. Yeah, could you look into that, please?
I will do, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? John, I just have one. What would be the approximate maintenance if we continue with the lighting that's there, and stop,
Yeah.
and versus all way
Sure.
and all way?
Well, the city, has a number of costs at all its signals. A Central Hudson account and ongoing costs for signal repairs and maintenance. We don't track those on a per location basis, so I don't have that figure. But on a nationwide average, it was looked at this question, and I don't have the exact date of this, but it was estimated about $5,500 per year per signal is a typical maintenance cost.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? And and John Schulteis, I appreciate the data that you did in regard to the traffic volume and on this particular intersection, and it indicating unwarranted for traffic signals at this intersection, and I appreciate you stating that the visibility of these signs is where it says retroreflective sheeting for visibility is already on these signs, and it's on our all-way stop signs, and that's located throughout the city of Kingston. That would not.
Yes, all new stop signs have to have a certain level of retro reflectivity.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Here, seeing no other questions, I'm just going to say, then let me just read this one. Sorry, let me find this one from.
Doug had a question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Alderman Randy Scott Childress. I didn't see your thing. I'm sorry.
No, Doug, I think.
Oh, sorry, Doug. I'm sorry, Doug. I'm trying to go back and forth. I don't got that big. Alderman Doug Coop. Unmute yourself, Doug.
Yeah, I just want to move the question.
Okay. All righty. So I'm just going to read it, Dan. If there's no more questions, I'm just going to read.
You have to have a second, Tony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second. Jeffrey Ventura Morel. So motion by Doug Coop, second by Jeffrey Ventura Morel. So any more discussion on it? All right. So let me read this for you, please, Dan. That's what I've been still looking for. I had it right here. I apologize. Oh, I'm just going to read this in. Amend 390-84 Schedule I, traffic signals to delete the intersection of Greenkill at Wilbur, and amend 390-92 Schedule 1X, stop intersections to add the intersection listed above as an all-way stop intersection. Does that clarify it, City Engineer John Schulteis?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I have a motion second. Okay, I'm gonna take the vote then. So I got a motion by Doug Coop, second by Jeffrey Ventura Morel. Show of thumbs, who's in favor of this? Opposed? So it looks like it's passed 5-0. All righty. So I will rate that up again. And that is all I have on new and old business for today. Anything else that I might have missed or need to discuss? All right. So I want to thank you guys, and thank you, John Schulteis. Thank you, Dan Garstein. Thank you, Elisa Tenti, for your time. Thank you, committee members. Thank you. I'm not sure if Steve Shab is still here or not. Steve, thank you for weighing in on some of the things here. And so I'll adjourn this meeting at 8:05. Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Patrick O'Reilly, second. Rennie Scott Childress, all in favor? Good. See you guys there. Enjoy.
Good night.
Tony.
One more.